Awesome. Great. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start. And I'm going to chit chat at you for a little bit about an observation, and then we're going to get going. So this is going to be a fun little experiment for me to see how I can track bodies and space in front of me and bodies and space online. And we're going to see how that goes. But let's make sure for today, everybody's got 2 blocks and a blanket. And the first little thing that we're going to chit chat about today is I've been driving a lot, and my brother and I are calling it driving Miss Sylv instead of driving Miss Daisy, because I've been driving my mom to and from work and all these places because I'm not really comfortable driving. So I've been driving. And it's been funny because as I've been thinking about this and driving around, it is the most stressful experience on the face of the planet. And it's been entertaining because I'll notice that I'll be like in the middle lane and I'll see like, oh, this person over there looks like they're going faster. This person looks like they're going faster. And so I'll switch lanes. And then inevitably what happens when you switch lanes? You get behind somebody else who's going slow. And then you see that the car that you were behind is now like a whole street in front of you. And you're like, if only I'd stayed in that other lane. And so I've been thinking about this. It's like this rush to get exactly where are we going? Nowhere most of the time. Like I'm running errands most of the time when I find myself doing this, and they're not time sensitive. I allocated extra time, so I don't understand why I'm in this hurry. And then the other thing that pops up is, I'm the slow person in the lane, going so slow, and people are like swerving around me and trying to get out of my way. They're like, oh my God, lady, move. And of course, the curiosity for this is like, what's going on? In my head, I'm like, oh, I'm doing what the NPR economist said, slow down so that there's no traffic and it goes ahead. But then in reality, it's like other people are getting annoyed. And so I've been thinking about this because I think it applies to our yoga practice. I think it applies to life. Sometimes we're in one particular lane, we're in one particular job, we're in one particular relationship, we're in one particular state of being. And we look at what's going on around us and we're like, I should be going faster. This isn't moving fast enough. Why aren't I X, Y, or Z? And then we switch lanes, we switch relationships, we switch jobs, we switch poses, and we find out that we're still stuck behind something that's not moving quite fast enough. Or we decide to slow down. And we find that, our relationships are asking us to move faster. Our jobs are asking us to move faster. Our bodies or our minds are asking us to move faster. And we're still in that state where we're not quite at peace. So we're going to see how that works out in our practice today. I want you to notice if you're the speed demon tailgating, or if you're the person hanging back, and if you're feeling rushed in either way. And we're going to just see what that does as we move along. So the first thing that we're going to start with is our little feet. So you're going to see your left foot, and you're going to cross your left foot over your right ankle. And the first thing I want you to do is you're just going to massage the sole of your left foot. And you can do this in any way that feels good to you. The thumbs can dig into the sole of the foot. You can find that maybe you'll squunch around the toes. You might even come all the way down to the heel, and you're just feeling what that feels like. And then you might find that you want to spread your toes apart. And again, I want you to just notice, is there already a sense of anxiety and rush? Are you saying, where are we going? Are we trying to move faster? Or are you just allowing yourself to experience what's happening in your foot? Awesome sauce. And then once you're done with that, you're going to spread wide through your right hand, interlace the fingers through the toes, almost like you're having a little handshake, and then you can create some circles here. And again, just noticing, can you really ride the curves? Or is there a part of you that's trying to cut corners, go faster, go slower? Be sure to go the other direction. Awesome sauce. And then we'll just gently release that and put that foot on the floor. And we're going to stay with this left foot. And I want you to come to the bottom of your knee. And I want you to find your shin bones. You've got 2. You've got your tibia and your fibia. And I want you to carve in the space between those 2 bones. This is the inner osseous membrane. And you might notice that this starts to release stuff at the sole of your foot if you really start to pay attention as you press into that inner space. Yeah, isn't that horrible? In a good way. Okay, and then you'll go all the way down. And once you've done that, you can now come on to the outer edge. So this should be the fibula. And so it's on your left side, and you're just pressing onto the outside, and you're noticing what that feels like. It might be more behind the back of the bone that's there. It might be in the front, still in the inner osseous membrane, but you're just noticing what that feels like to work into that part. Awesome. And then you're going to come back to the inside, and it's a good thing I'm not there to touch you, but you're going to push onto the inside edge against that bone and just slowly walk your way down. And I want you to notice, yep, they're making faces over here with me. So I want you to just pause and breathe. And this is just like one of those things, like, are you speeding through it? Are you slowing down? Are you noticing what is happening in your feet? Yay. Okay. And then just give your calf some little love, some little squeezes and some little massages. And that wasn't too bad, I hope. And then we'll go ahead and send that foot forward and just look at your feet and see if there's any differentiation you notice. It might be in the way the feet feel or the calves feel against the back of the floor. It might be the coloration of the feet. It might even be what you notice in terms of little blood vessels and things. But then we'll switch sides. So left leg tucks under, right leg crosses over. And then you just start on the other side. And this is where the real trick comes. Are you rushing or are you hanging back? Can you ride the correct speed for you? I noticed that for me, there's a part of me that's rushing to get ahead so often, and yet I'm agitated when others are trying to rush me. So we're just gonna see. And after you've just given your foot some little love, I encourage you to spread the toes, feeling what that feels like, finding space between each one of the toes, noticing how you can check in with the breath. And then when you're ready, spread wide through the left hand, interlace the fingers through the toes, and you'll just create some circles here. And if your fingers don't quite fit, that's okay. It's one of those fun, weird dancer quirk things where my toes are a little bit more spreadable than normal. Okay, and then be sure to go both directions. And then once you're ready, right foot comes on the floor and we'll find those bones again. So bottom of your kneecap, and you're just going to go straight down. And it's almost like a little digging action. You can rub a little bit if you'd like, but you're just paying attention to pressing on that bone and seeing what that does to the sole of the foot. One of the things I've noticed about driving more is that my feet get really tense very quickly. I can imagine that, Barbara, yours get very tense playing the organ. And then you're going to come back to the top and you're going to go down the outside edge on the right. And these are the peroneal muscles. So you can, I feel like I like to move them around a little bit because they get very hard. They help stabilize the knee. Okay. And then last time, we'll come to the inside edge and be very mindful. There are a few marma points here. Marma points, they're energetic points. So the yogis, Chinese medicine believes that these are where all your different energetic points cross. And so like there's one here in your calf, there's one at the bottom of your foot, you can press one in your armpit, in your glute, and you'll feel so much pain when you press on those things, but then a huge release. Okay, awesome. And then we'll release both legs long and see how they're doing. Great. Let's move on. So we're still going to stay with our feet. Go ahead and bring your blanket out and come on to hands and knees. I encourage you at this point to have your blocks somewhere easily accessible to you if you need them, right to left. And then those of you who know where we're going directly into our navicular stretch. So you'll separate your knees wider than your hips, take your right foot towards your left foot, lift your left foot up and bring the top of the left foot into the arch of the right foot. And blocks are here in case if you find that this is a lot of pressure, but you might lift that left leg up, push the left foot down into the right foot and start to drag the left knee to the left. Other foot on top, Roberta. Okay. And then when you're done, you'll come forward, hands and knees, and you'll switch sides. So the left foot towards the right foot lifts up. Make sure that foot's in the sole of the foot. So Tim, bring your foot forward so it's at the bottom of your foot. So the top foot, nope, away from you. Bring it away from you so it's into the sole of, yeah. And then you'll start to press your pelvis back. And there's a bone on the top of your foot. It's called the navicular bone. It's the keystone arch of your foot. And it's pressing into the sole of, for most of us, our right or our left foot. Yep, we're using the bone to stretch the other foot. Oh yeah, good, Roberta. So there we go. Awesome sauce. And then we'll go ahead and come forward. Tuck both sets of toes under. Walk your knees, ankles, and shins together. And I want you to pause here. Notice if all 10 toes are tucked under here, or if you need to separate your feet a little bit in order to get all 10 toes tucked under. Once you've found that, you'll start to press your pelvis up. Make sure pinky toe hasn't escaped, and then sit super tall. Great. And we're just starting with the foundation. So notice if there's already this part of you that wants to rush to hurry on, or if you can settle and find your breath, if you can find the movement that's happening in this still point. And then from here, we'll give ourselves a hug, left arm under, right arm on top. Maybe double wrap the arms and maybe draw the palms to touch. And you'll just take 4 of these on your own. Inhaling, pressing the elbows forward and up, maybe gaze lifts with it. And exhale, drawing the elbows down, low ribs in and back. And you've got 3 more on your own. And you might find that as you take these, you want to find a little cat and cow with it. You might find that you want to round or not. You might just stay completely still, but you're going at your speed. I think what causes us, myself included, so much stress is we're either trying to go too fast or we're feeling like we're moving too slow. And how can we trust that wherever we are, as we are, is exactly at the place we need to be? Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and inhale and come back to neutral. Gently unwind your arms and switch the arm that's on top. So right arm under, left arm on top. Maybe you just hug, maybe you bring back some palms to touch, maybe fronts of palms to touch. And then when you're ready, 4 sets on your own. And you might do the exact same thing you did before. You might choose to do something differently, but I encourage you to just follow your breath. I encourage you to notice what's happening in your body. Notice what's happening in your mind, and eventually, hopefully, we can quiet that mind enough to notice what's happening in our heart. Okay. Gently, you'll unwind, coming back to neutral, and then coming forward, hands and knees, tops of the toes to the floor. Yep, there was a huge rush to get out of that for most of us. Like, yes, exit. And then counter pose as you're ready. Tops of knees lift, tops of shins stretch if need be, and you just choose what's best for you. Great. Awesome. Then go ahead and take that block and sit on one of your blocks. So we're just going to sit in Vajrasana for a moment here. Now, before we settle, I want everyone to remove the flesh. So you're going to pull your calves back and wide, just so your knees feel okay. Yeah, okay. And then hands will come back behind you, interlace fingertips, draw shoulders up, draw shoulder blades together, and then start to reach hands back and slightly away from you so that you can find a little bit of lift up through your sternum. And then notice where your heads need to go. Notice where your breath is. And some of you might want to dip an ear one way and then dip an ear the other, but you're noticing where you're at. We're going to gradually work up to some poses, but we want to see if we can set the foundation first. And then you'll gently release that. Hands will come forward and up. And I want you to just interlace your hands and reach up. Reach, 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 reach up. You might send the heels of the hands up and notice what that does to the outer edges of the triceps. Drawing the front ribs back and lifting up. Yep. And then gently just bend left elbow, grab left elbow with right hand. Press left elbow to the left, draw it into the right, and then start to notice where your breath is. So we get so caught up in movement that we don't notice the movement of the breath. Can you lift your chin parallel to the floor? Can you soften any tension around your eyes and your jaw? Awesome sauce. Gently release. Both arms high. Bend the right elbow, grab the right elbow with the left hand. And you'll just pause, check in and notice. Can the head be centered on the spine? Notice if there's any tingling or shaking, and we're just pausing and we're breathing. Great. Gently reach up through both arms, arms open out, and then hands come in front of you. And so just to get out a little bit of energy, I want you to draw your thumbs over your fingernails, and you're going to flick stuff out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Little ankle circles after that, both ways if you'd like. And shaky doos, and let's move on. Let's go ahead and come forward to hands and knees. Blocks alongside the outer upper corners of your mat. And then when you get there, We're going to find ourselves in hands and knees, and blankets can stay exactly as they are. And for today, I'd like everyone to tuck your toes under. Awesome. Inhale, drop your belly, lift your gaze. And then exhale, tops of the feet to the floor, round through the spine, little cat pose. So this is how we're going to do cats and cows today. Inhale, tuck the toes under, drop the belly, gaze forward. And then exhale, round through the spine, tops of the feet to the floor, press into the shins. Great, you've got 2 more on your own. And you're just going to follow your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Nice work, everybody. And here's your last set. Inhale into cow, toes tuck under, belly drops. Exhale into cat, tops of the feet into the floor. Nice work. Inhale, return to a cow shape, toes tuck under. Exhale, hips press up and back towards downward facing dog. Keep the knees really bent. Now with your knees really bent, let's all lift up through our happy inner armpits and press our front ribs into our back body. So push into my hand, Barbara. Yeah. Then push the hands down and forward to lift the hips up and back. And then from there, see if you can spiral your inner thighs back behind you and bend just your left knee, just your left knee, just your left knee, just your left knee. You might swim your hips a little to the right and just pay attention to what that's doing into your right calf. Take in a deeper breath. And then next inhale, come back through center. And as you exhale, you'll bend just the right knee. And with the right knee bending, you can reach that left heel down and back and maybe swim your left hip slightly to the left and pay attention to how that sensation moves. Next in breath, come back to center. And then one more set on your own. And again, you're just moving at your own pace. You're noticing what feels good to you. I think what causes many of us a sense of crises is feeling like we're out of sync, out of balance with our own inner knowing, where we go too fast or we go too slow, but we're just out of balance. And so we're just giving ourselves opportunity to come back to that. Nice job, guys. Once you feel complete, you'll go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and shift our weight forward into plank pose, Phalakasana, everybody's favorite thing. Now you can choose to stay here or slide one of your blocks in between your inner upper thighs if you'd like. And in either case, we're going to take a moment to pause. Great. So in plank, let's all push down through our L shape of our hands. Lift up through your inner armpit so the upper back rounds just a bit. Nice job. From there, reach back through your tail, reach back through your heels, but lift up through your happy inner thighs. Yeah. And then notice if you can take in a deeper breath and find space between your ribs and your hips as the heart, reaches forward. Next, exhale. You'll send your hips up and back. You can keep that block if you've got it. And you're just hugging the block now lightly here. Continuing to lift up through happy inner armpits and wrap those triceps towards the floor as your hips go a little higher. Nice work. Now, if you've got that block, go ahead and gently remove it and replant it towards the upper part of your space. Yep. And then let's go ahead and move on. Inhale, lift your right leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that right foot between your hands. Pause. Make sure your feet are pretty far apart front to back and a little bit wider to the right. Plant down through your left hand. Draw your right hand to your right knee. Pause. So bring right hand to outside edge of right knee. There we go. Let's also energize our back leg a lot, squeezing all the muscles around that bone, lifting up through that inner left thigh. Yep. Draw that outer right hip back and then reach your heart forward. Nice. As you exhale, you might want to push down into that left hand, left block and lift up through left armpit a little bit more. And then on your next exhale, start to engage the belly on the right side and rotate your chest towards the right. Yeah. From here, keep reaching sternum forward. Hug into that inner left thigh. Lift your ribs and then rotate the belly a little more. Nice. You might stay there. You might float your right arm up, but you'll just notice, how is the breath in the body? Where is the breath in the body? Where is the mind? Nice job, guys. One more breath. Lower the right hand to the floor. Plant both hands on the floor. Step yourself back. Plank pose. 3 steady breaths. And again, you just notice, where are you at in this moment? Is there a rush? Is there a hurry? Is there a sense of, oh my God, this isn't like, this is going too fast? Awesome sauce. Hips high, downward facing dog. 3 steady breaths. And just notice, where's the breath alive for you? What are those inner sparks that come up in this moment sensationally, physically, mentally, emotionally? Yeah, all right. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. As you're here, pause, push down through your hands, lift up, yep, through those armpits. Next, exhale, step that left foot quietly between your hands. Pause. Notice if your stance is long enough front to back, and if you need to widen a little bit to the left, just so the hip is in line with the foot. Right hand might come to a block, it might stay on the floor, but you'll draw your left hand to your left outer knee thigh area. Lift up through that inner back thigh, a lot hugging muscle to bone. Reach your heart and sternum forward. Yep, push down into your right hand and start to lift the belly on the left side. Yep, from there, rotate perhaps more to the left, so left shoulder stacks on top of right, and maybe lift that left arm up. Now you've got 3 steady breath cycles here. Keep hugging that outer left hip back. Keep lifting up through that outer right hip. Yep, and your heart reaches forward to keep the sacrum happy. Yeah, does that feel better? And then you'll take 1 more breath cycle here. Next exhalation, lower that left hand to the floor, step yourself back, plank pose, and pause. So we're gonna stay here in Falankasana, everybody's favorite pose. I know that's probably not true, but that's okay. And you'll reach your heart forward, you'll lengthen your tailbone back, and you'll pull your pubic bone up to your belly so you're really hugging in. Next inhalation, shift your weight forward, and as you exhale, lower all the way down in one piece. Head stay lifted all the way. Yeah. Okay, blankets might need to be discarded if you need to, want to, or you can keep them there. We're really taking the time to establish ourselves. So this is going to sound weird. I'm fully aware of that. That's okay. Lift your right leg up. Reach, or rather hug all the muscles around your right leg, and then reach the foot straight back. Now, before you put the foot on the floor, put your pinky toe down first. Pinky toe down first. Then spread wide through the foot and press into your big toenail and pinky toenail evenly. So the foot is still pointing straight back, but now you feel your pinky toe and your big toe. Now we're gonna do that with the left leg. So lift the left leg up. Squeeze all the muscles around that foot, on that bone, on that leg. Then bring the foot back to the floor, pinky toe down first, and then press down into the big toe. Yeah, from here, press down into both sets of feet evenly. Lengthen your tailbone back towards your feet and lift those happy kneecaps up. From here, you'll start to push down lightly into your hands and pull your heart and sternum forward. Head will lift in line with tops of shoulders. Great. Now, I want you to keep reaching back through the toes, pushing down through the toes, and isometrically pull your shoulder blades onto the back, elbows towards each other. Now, my low back people, I want you to keep lengthening tailbone back a lot. Yep, drawing low belly in and heart comes forward. Yeah, nice job. Gently exhale and lower all the way down. Go ahead and tuck both sets of toes under. Yogi's choice, your knees can stay down or not, but we're gonna lift our ears in line with the tops of our shoulders, draw our shoulder blades onto the back. If the legs are straight, straighten them long. And then 1 breath, inhale through plank. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Nice modifications, guys, good job. And then you'll just take 3 breaths and you'll just notice what you notice here. How's the body? How's the breath? How's the mind? I don't know about you, but it's almost like there's part of me that's afraid of missing out on something if I don't get there too quickly. That's not really necessary. It's not really true either. All right, go ahead and inhale, gaze to your hands. As you exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float to top of space. Awesome sauce. Once you get there, separate your feet about hip distance apart. Either grab opposite elbow or the back of your head. Now, since we started with our feet, I want you to notice where the weight is in your feet. Can you shift your weight forward so the weight isn't so much in the backs of the feet, but is in the center of the foot? And then notice if there's more weight on the inner or the outer edges of your feet. So are you more on your big toe side or your pinky toe side? And how can you even that out? Nice work. Now, next thing, see if you can shift your weight forward enough so that your shin bones are perpendicular to the floor, straight up and down. Nice. Okay, let's gently release our hands down towards the floor. Inhale, pull your heart and sternum forward and up, halfway lift, maybe hands on shins, maybe fingers on floor. Pause here. Bend your knees enough so your spine is parallel to the floor. Yep. Draw your chin to your chest just slightly so that the back of the neck stays long. And then when you're ready, hug those shoulder blades onto back. From here, one hand comes to one hip, another hand comes to the other hip. And then with the power of your legs, inhale, come straight up to vertical. Yeah. Take 3 breaths here, finding the weight into the legs. So you can push your hands into your pelvis to root your legs into your feet, root the feet into the floor. Great. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold Uttanasana. Nice work. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step yourself back, downward facing dog pose. Great. From down dog, you'll inhale and come forward into plank pose. Pause. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Next in-breath, shift your weight forward as you exhale, slowly lower all the way down to the floor. Nice job, guys. Once you're down, let's walk the hands back 1 millimeter, just 1 millimeter. And then you're gonna lift your left leg up this time. Hug all the muscles around the bone. Reach the leg back and put the left pinky toe down and then spread wide to the right pinky toe. And then do the same thing on the other side. So lift the right leg up, hug all the muscles around the bone, reach the foot back, and then reach the pinky toe down first, and then the big toenail. Great. Now pressing into big toenails and pinky toes evenly. This is especially important for my sacrum people. I want you to press down into those feet, lift up through your kneecaps, hug your outer shin bones in and lengthen your tailbone back. Yeah. From here, you'll pull your heart and sternum forward isometrically. Yep. And then when you're ready, you can inhale and lift as high as you want to Bhujangasana, but we're lengthening the tailbone back. We're pressing evenly into the pinky toes and into the big toes. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will reach your toes so far back that they float up and away from the floor, but tailbone is lengthening back. Sternum is reaching forward, outer shin bones hugging in. Nice job, guys. Next, exhale, lower all the way down. Great. Tuck your toes under. Yogi's choice, modified plank or plank. You'll come up in 1 breath. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Check in. Notice what you notice. Where are you in this moment? Are you fully grounded and present? Or is there a part of you that wishes to be somewhere else? So press your front ribs into my hand. There you go. And then lift your hips up a little bit higher. Yep. Does that feel okay? Great. All right, let's add on. Inhale, gaze to your hands. Exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float, top of mat. Nice job. Separate those feet hip distance apart. You might slide a block in between your shins or not. Totally up to you. But you'll inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold all the way in. Inhale, sit, Utkatasana. So now once we found ourselves in our happy chair pose, I want you to spread wide through your feet, just like we did at the beginning. Yep. Then hug into that block. See if you can lengthen the tailbone down, but reach up through your pinky fingers. So happy little pinky fingers are reaching up. Inner armpits are lifting up. Noticing how that allows the shoulder blades to descend on the back and finding spaciousness in our ribs. You got 1 more breath cycle here. Nice job, guys. Next, in breath, stand up, reach up, look up. Pause, tailbone lengthens down, front ribs draw back, root evenly through the front and back of foot. Nice work. Next exhalation, hands come to heart center. Great, let's add on. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. Awesome sauce. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, fold in, remove your block, and step back, downward facing dog. One long breath to accomplish all that. Great. All right. Let's add on. Inhale, lift your right leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Pause. Notice where the back foot is. Maybe widen it a little bit to the left and spin it down for warrior two. Then when you're ready, you'll windmill the arms up and come up for Virabhadrasana 2. Pause. Take your arms out of the equation. Draw your hands to your hips. Look down at your feet and notice where your feet need to be for your sacrum. So some of you will need to walk the foot to the right. Some of you will need to walk the front foot to the left. Some of you will need to walk the front foot forward. Some of you will need to walk the back foot back. Take a moment to find your ideal spot for your sacrum, your low back, the ideal speed for you. And then once you feel like your feet are established, go ahead and open the arms out. Awesome sauce. Now, once we're here, let's pause. Let's push down into our front heel a lot. Let's reach back into that outer pinky toe. And can everyone bend that front knee a little bit more? Yep. So we've got more of a 90-degree angle happening in that front knee. At the same time, reach back through your inner left thigh. Turn your palms to face the sky like happy little warriors. And our arms might not be 180 degrees for today. That's okay. We want arms in alignment with our shoulders. Take one more breath cycle here. And your next exhalation, see if you can sit a little lower into the legs while still pulling feet in. And then inhale, reach both arms up and overhead. Yep, grab your right wrist. Next in-breath, reach up and exhale, little side bend towards the back. Keep drawing your right and front ribs back behind you as you breathe into your right side body. Nice job, guys. Next in-breath, come up, both arms up, and exhale, arms back to warrior two. Inhale, extend out through your right arm, lower right fingers to the floor, block, or right forearm to the inside or right thigh, wherever you wish to be. And then swing that left arm over your head for extended side angle. Nice. Now you've got 3 breath cycles here. I want you to pause and modify the shape for you. We all have our different speeds and we all have our different gifts. I don't drive a Maserati, probably never will. I would not know how to use that car. So we just want to drive at our own rate, noticing that we can open that right knee so it stays centered over the front foot. Yep, keep pressing onto the outside edge of the back foot. And then invite those right ribs under a little bit more. Yep, left ribs on top. Maybe gaze comes under top armpit. Yeah, buddy. Next inhale, gaze comes down to the floor. As you exhale, low lunge. Step back, downward facing dog. Now you get to drive at your own speed. Maybe you inhale and come through a plank. Maybe you cycle through a chaturanga and up dog. Maybe you just hang out in downward facing dog. But there's nowhere else that you have to be other than where you're at. There's no speed that you have to go other than the one that you're at. So just take 3 breaths and notice how that's going for you. Nice job. When you're complete, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. And we'll just notice what we notice. Nice job, Tim. Keep your low belly in. Yeah, right there. Yep. Awesome sauce. Okay, let's go ahead and try the other side. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Pause. You might need to adjust the back foot, but spin your right foot to the floor. And then when you're ready, come up for warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Now, just as we did on the first side, let's go ahead and take our arms out of the equation. And I want you to just notice what's happening with your feet. Is the front knee squared over the center of that front foot? So maybe you need to look down and look at that. Maybe you need to wiggle walk the left foot to the left a bit more or more to the right, whatever feels best to you. Maybe that front foot needs to come forward just a little bit or the back foot needs to go back a little bit. And then you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And once you feel like your sacrum's pretty happy, make sure shoulders are squared over your hips so they might not be flat to the wall to your right. And then you'll open your arms out right to left. Let's go ahead and turn our palms up again and notice how that softens the shoulders. And then all of us, let's see if we can bend a little bit more into that front knee. And it almost feels like your inner thigh is going one way. And at the same time, the inner left thigh goes forward, the inner right thigh goes back. And then notice the engagement in your arms. Are you reaching forward more or back more, or are you completely balanced in the middle? Nice job, guys. And then where's your breath? How steady, how consistent, how smooth can that be? Next, in breath, both arms reach up. Almost feel like you're lifting your torso out of your legs, but lengthening the pelvis down. Grab your left wrist. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, little happy side bend towards the back leg. Keep bending into the front leg and keep drawing your front ribs into your back body. So it's a side bend versus a back bend. Yeah. Next, in breath, come up, both arms high, and exhale, arms open out. Great. Reach out through your left hand and lower left fingertips to floor block or left forearm to left thigh. And then that right arm will swim over your head. Now you've got 3 breaths here. Modify this pose to suit your body. So where do you need to adjust? Sometimes it feels good to lengthen my tailbone back towards my inner right thigh as I draw my outer left hip back and under. Sometimes that doesn't feel so good. Sometimes it feels really good to draw those left ribs under, the right ribs up, and letting the heart space open. You've got 1 more breath cycle here, and you're just adjusting the shape. You're driving your pace at your speed. Nice work. Next exhalation, gaze comes to the floor, square your hips, low lunge, and then you'll step yourself back, downward facing dog. And just as we did before, maybe you flow through an up dog or cobra, maybe you hang out. But wherever you are, notice the speed at which you're going. We want to start to observe that there are thoughts that lead and guide us into one thing or another, and see if we can adjust and modify for that. Awesome sauce. All right, let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, gaze to your hands. Exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float, top of space. Nice job. Separate feet hip distance apart, maybe with or without block, your choice. And then you'll inhale, halfway lift. You'll exhale and fold in. Keep your fingertips as close to the floor. Inhale, bend your knees super low, and then bring your spine up to vertical Utkatasana chair pose. Now from here, spread wide through the feet. So pinky toes press down. And notice that just isometrically thinking of dragging the feet apart tones the outer thighs. Then see if you can lift up through the arms. Yep, see if you can soften the jaw. And then take in a deeper breath. See if you can soften the eyes. And then notice what happened to the breath. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Nice job. Inhale, stand up, reach up, look up. And then pause, exhale, drop the tailbone down, draw the front ribs back, find more verticality through the spine. Lower the hands through heart center and pause. Soften the gaze or close the eyes, and you'll just take 3 breaths. When was the last time you checked in with yourself to notice the pace at which you were driving? To notice the pace at which life, aka traffic, aka relationships, work, body, were pushing us to be at a different speed that felt comfortable, that felt natural, that felt in flow for us. There is no right, there is no wrong, it's just an observation. And then let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. Nice job. Go ahead and remove that block. And then inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step just your right foot long and back. And then maybe you might want to step the right foot in just a little bit to spin the right foot to the floor. Yep. And then we'll inhale and come up for warrior 1. So keep drawing that outer left hip back. Great. Let's take our arms out of the equation. First things first. I want you to try this weird thing. It sounds really awkward and slightly inappropriate, but you can do this to yourself. Your right hand will be on your right hip. Your left hand will come to your inner left thigh. I want you to notice how you can sort of steer your right hip forward and your inner left thigh back. And then notice, look at that. Notice what that does to your sacrum. And then you can bend more into the front knee. And then I want you to bring your hands to the front of your ribs, and you'll see if you can draw them back a little bit while drawing your heart forward. So we're trying to make sure that our low back stays as long as it can be. And then from there, you might find that, okay, you got your legs going. Now press into your pinky toe edge of your back foot. Bend a little bit more into that front foot. Then maybe reach your arms up and overhead and keep that length by reaching up through your pinky fingers and that in a spiral. Oh my God, of that back leg. And you'll pause and you'll breathe. And we're saying, hello, happy days. Reach up more on this side for me, Barbara. No, this side. So this side comes forward and up. Yeah. Does that feel okay? Great. Take one more breath cycle here. On your next exhalation, hands come down to the floor. You might bring hands to the blocks and you might straighten that front leg long and say, oh my God, hello, pyramid pose. Hi, happy hamstrings. Now here, again, we're imagining we're doing that same thing. So outer right hip comes forward, inner right thigh lifts up and back, and you're pressing from that happy left sit bone all the way down to your left big toe. And have we stopped breathing? Can we breathe deeply? Can we breathe consistently? Nice job, guys. Inhale, go ahead and come forward, low lunge. And as you exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Your choice, stay there or cycle through, completely up to you. One of the good things about being on our mat is, if we do something, we're not causing traffic jams and don't really have to worry about somebody running into us or us running into somebody else. Our mat is our own lane. All right, let's go ahead and meet back in downward dog if we're not there. And then inhale, gaze to your hands. Exhale, step or float, top of space. Loop. Nice job. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold in. Without the block, inhale, bend the knees, sit low, chair pose. Awesome sauce. Now, since we don't have that block, we're gonna press wide through the feet. Notice how that tracks the knees over the center of the foot. Then lengthen tailbone down, draw front ribs in and back, and reach up through arms. Nice job. Next inhalation, stand up, reach up, look up, happy days. And exhale, hands through heart center, Samasthiti. 3 breaths. Pause and just notice what you notice. Where are you at? How often do you give yourself permission to just pause, to breathe, to be? Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and add on, or rather go to the other side. Inhale, circle, sweep arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step your left leg back. Now you might need to spin that left foot a little bit to the left and wide. Keep the front knee bent, and when you're ready, inhale, come up for Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. And just as we did before, we're going to take our hands out of the equation. So hands back to hips. You might swim your right hand to the inside edge of your left thigh. Left hand is on the outer left hip, and it's almost like you're driving it forward, lifting up through that inner thigh, and then you can reach back through that pinky toe. And then once you found all that, you can bend a little bit more through that front knee, draw your hands to your front ribs, and lengthen or pull the front ribs in and back, almost like you're closing a drawer. The front ribs just come gently into the back body. You might need to lift or reach your heart forward just a little bit more to make that happen. And then you'll find that you can start to reach the arms up and overhead if you'd like. And then again, we're going to press into that pinky toe of that back foot a lot. We still keep steering that outer left hip forward and reaching up through your right pinky finger as much as your left to find that length in the torso, in the spine, and at the same time, soften any tension around your shoulders and your ears. Nice job. Take one more breath cycle here, lifting and toning through that inner left thigh a little bit more. Yep, next exhale, hands come down to blocks or floor. Go ahead and straighten front leg long, pyramid pose, hooray. And you've got 3 breaths here. And then you're noticing, is this pelvis still square? Can you draw that outer left hip forward just a smidge? Yep, that inner left thigh back. And then you're pressing from right big toe, top of right shin comes forward just a smidge, press into right big toe, and then you're breathing. Nice job. Next in-breath, bend the front knee, shift the weight forward, low lunge. And exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Last time to cycle through an up dog or cobra or not. It's totally up to you, but I encourage you to pause and just breathe. For me, when I like driving, I like listening to bad pop music. Totally love pop music. Turn it up. Oh, yes. So Erica said I should drive with her 12-year-old. She and I would have great time. I turn the music up really loud and I sing to it, and it causes me to speed. So it's probably not a good thing. Okay, so let's pause here. Separate your feet a little wider. Walk your hands back, one hand print. Separate your feet a little wider. Walk your hands back, one hand print. Pause here. Push down through the hands, lift up through the inner thighs. And then separate your feet a little wider. Walk your hands one hand print back. You're going to keep doing this until you find yourself in Prasarita Padottanasana. So wide-legged forward fold. Your feet are obviously going to come off of your mat. And you're just slowly getting yourself there and noticing what this entrance into it does. Nice job. Once you found yourself at your depth and your width of feet, you might notice that hands can come to outer edges of ankles, forearms might come to floor, arms might walk forward, but wherever you are, you're just going to take a moment to pause. And let's make sure in Prasarita, our feet are pretty parallel. So the heels aren't spinning in or out, they're pretty parallel. Great, and then you just got 3 more breath cycles here. Check in with your head and see if you can let your head be even heavier. So the back of the head just drips forward, and notice what that does to the upper back. Feels like chin comes to chest just a little bit more. Awesome sauce. Great. Very gently, hands are going to come back to the floor underneath your shoulders. And however you wish to do this, you're going to come to sit on your shins. So some of you will plant your palms and jump your legs together. Some of you will bend your knees and lower your knees to the mat. You choose whatever works best for you. Yep, okay. And then we're just going to sit for a moment in Bhadrasana or Hero's Pose. So you might slide that block right back underneath your pelvis if that feels good to you, but you're just going to sit and you're just going to close your eyes. And if you are sitting for Hero's Pose, again, remove the flesh to sit back on that block. Awesome, and then you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And I want you to check in this moment. Notice the sensations that are happening in your body. Notice the breath in your body. Notice if there's any part of you that feels like it's worrying or hurrying or rushing or trying to move a little bit slower. We're just trying to find ourselves in contact with that. Great. If your eyes are closed, you'll gently open them once again. And we're going to find ourselves on our butt. So if you've got that block, say sayonara to that and extend your legs in front of you. Let's go ahead and sit up on a blanket. So if blanket starts off in quartered shape, you're going to fold that in half until it's about an 1/8. And then you'll fold that in half again until it's, I guess, a 16th. And you'll put your butt on the blanket. Oh my God. It's funny to watch Jenny over here playing with Alexander while she's also doing yoga. Okay. Now we're going to take Marichi Asana. So I want you to bend your left knee and put your left foot in line with your heel. And before we get to this, you might find that you want to put your hands at the back of your thumbs and literally either massage that space underneath there or move the skin down and wide in order to draw the heel as close to your pelvis without it creating stuff happening in your knee. Okay. And let's go ahead and check in with our right foot flex through that foot, and the right calf, the right heel, the right thigh is pushing down. So, yep. And then we're going to sit as tall as we can. Our right hand is going to come and hug our left knee thing, and our left hand is going to come back behind us. Now, for Marichi Asana, you want to just lift up through your spine as much as you can, and then exhale, pull the belly in on the left and rotate towards the left. And so ideally, we're working to try to see how close our right armpit rib thing can get towards our left thigh. And that might not get there. We want to pay attention to the speed at which things are unfurling for us internally. So instead of forcing ourselves there with external forces, meaning our arms, we want to allow the internal digestion or the internal winding or unwinding to help guide us. Nice. Got one more breath cycle here. See if you can soften your shoulders and then soften your jaw. Yeah, okay. Inhale, come back through center, gently release, left foot forward, and then we'll switch sides. So right knee will come in. And just as we did before, thumbs might come to the back of that calf. Notice how it feels. So when we were massaging our shin bones earlier, we didn't get this part. So just notice how this feels to move that out of the way. And then you'll draw that foot as close to you as you wish to. Sit super tall, check in with your left foot. Press left heel, calf, and thigh down and pull the toes back. And the left arm comes around right shin, right hand comes out to the right. Inhale, lift up through your spine first. Exhale, low belly draws in on the right, and you rotate from the inside out. What would life look like if we all drove from the inside out? If we navigated our relationships, if we navigated our work, if we navigated our even health and general well-being from the inside out, what might that look like? You got 2 more breath cycles here. See where you can soften in the face. See where you can open that right shoulder perhaps by just softening it. Nice job. Next in breath, go ahead and come back through center. Extend the right leg long in front of you. Okay, you might choose to stay on the blanket. You might choose to discard the blanket, but we're going to take dancer quad stretch. So, yeah, it'll make sense in a minute. You're going to bend your left knee and bring your left heel outside of your left hip. Now, just as we did before, I want you to bring your thumbs into the back of the calf and move the flesh back and wide. Great. And then you might just start to walk your hands back and be like, yep, this is enough stretch for me, meaning it's not at my knee, it's not at my hip. Some of you will bend your right knee and draw your right heel closer to you. You might then push down into your right foot and left shin, lift your pelvis and slide your tailbone under. You might then lower down onto your forearms. You might be like, yep, that's great. You might spin that right knee out to the right and be like, yep, that's awesome sauce. I'm going to stay here. You might still go towards the right to lower your right forearm to the floor and bring your back to the floor. And if you're going all the way there, you're still pressing down into the top of the shin, lengthening tailbone back. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. Wherever speed, whatever place you're at your destination. There's nowhere else you need to go. I mean, after all, John Kabat-Zinn did say, wherever you go, there you are. So you're already there. So you got 2 more breath cycles here. Those of you that are on your back, you might reach your arms up and over your head and feel what that feels like. If you are on your back, or even if you're not, keep lengthening your tailbone down to your left knee. And then notice if you can breathe. Notice if you can breathe and notice if you can breathe. Awesome sauce. People on our backs, to come out of this, you're going to roll to your right, roll to your right, roll to your right. And then those of us who were more upright, you're going to still slightly roll to your right in order to come up. It's almost like you're making that giant circle. Grab your left ankle with your left hand, send your left foot in front of you, send your right foot in front of you, and then you'll just notice what you notice between the sides. Oh gosh. And then we'll try dancer quad stretch on the other side. So bend that right knee first, grab your right ankle, swim the right ankle outside of your left hip. And again, hands come to the back of the calf, move the flesh back and then wide. And then you might start to just walk your hands back and be like, this is where I'm at. This feels good. I'm not pinching my knee or my hip. Some of you will start to bend that other knee. And then you might push down into your foot, push down into your shin, lift your pelvis, slide your tailbone under just a little bit more. You might then lower down onto your forearms and be like, yep, I'm hanging out here. The outer left thigh bone, shin bone thing might come to the left and you might hang out here, or you might start to roll to your left to make your way onto your back. And if you're doing that, you're going to pause and you're going to stay there. But wherever you're at, you're just pausing and breathing. And you're paying attention to what's happening. And then notice what it feels like to keep that right knee grounded into the floor. That's the one that's kind of bent under. Does it feel like that right knee is popping up, or can it stay grounded? And my runners especially, this is a good stretch for you. Great, and you got 2 more breath cycles here. Tailbone lengthens down to that right knee quite a bit. And then when we're ready to come out, we're all going to start to roll. Well, if you're on your back or on your forearms, you're going to roll to your left to create this giant circle that brings you upright. Grab that outer right shin bone, it comes forward, outer left knee foot thing comes forward, and then you'll pause and you'll just pause and you'll breathe. Great. Now you guys are going to turn around. Well, actually, no, lay on your back. Generally, your heads would spin around, but I don't think you want to be watching out the window. So choose whatever you're wanting to do, but you're going to lay down on your backs. And the first thing you do when you lay down on your back is you really just receive the floor. How does the floor feel? It can be a neutral, just indicator of how the body is doing, how the right and the left sides feels, especially for my sacrum people. I want you to notice if it feels like right and left side of the hips and the right and the left sides of the sacrum are equally rooted. Great. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and bend both knees. Awesome. Draw your right knee into your chest. Interlace hands at the back of the right thigh. Go ahead and flex through that right foot a lot and kick your right thigh away from you until it's perpendicular to your body. Yeah. And then keeping it at a 90-degree angle, so the knee's still bent for a moment, flex through your left foot and then send your left foot long on the floor beneath you. Hooray, happy days. And just as we did before, you're going to push into your heel, push into the back of the left calf, push into the back of the left hamstring as you pull those toes towards you. And as you continue to kick that right thigh into both hands, you might stay there with that knee bent, or you might start to kick the right foot up towards the sky. And then if you've done that, make sure your inner left thigh is still spiraling to the floor. Yep, and the outer right hip is spiraling down and away from your right shoulder. Yep. And then you'll notice if you can soften the jaw, if you can soften the chin, and shaking is okay. We're just breathing. And you might release the hands and just use muscular energy to hold the leg there. That's another thing you can do. And you've just got 3 breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, gently draw that right knee into your chest. Give yourself a happy hug, happy squeeze. Move that leg around in any way that feels good to you. But again, you're paying attention to your speed. You're paying attention to what feels of service to you. I don't know about you, but I know that when I'm pressured to go faster, that doesn't feel of service to me. And when I feel pressured to go slower than I feel the capacity to, that doesn't always feel of service either. So we're allowing ourselves to just notice what we notice. And then once you feel complete with all your little exploratory movement, gently release the right foot back to the floor. And then bend the left knee and plant it next to the right. And then check in again and notice what's happening in your sacrum. Notice what's happening in your shoulders. Notice what's happening in your jaw and then in the pelvis. And then we'll go ahead and try that on the other side. So draw your left knee in. Hands come to the back of your left thigh. Flex through that foot and start to kick it away from you. So left thigh comes away from your chest until it's perpendicular to your spine. Then flex through that right foot, send the right foot forward and along the floor. And then just as we did before, as you press down into that heel, you push down into that calf, you push down into the back of the right hamstring. You'll notice how that feels, and some of you will stay there with that left knee bent. Some of you will kick that left foot up towards the sky, and as we do that, roll that inner right thigh to the floor. Roll that outer left hip away from your left shoulder, and then notice if you can soften and breathe. And you might hold on to the leg, you might let go of it. It's a really crazy core quad thing happening when you're just holding your legs with your abs, with the muscles. And then you just pause and you breathe. And you shake. Oh, you shake a crap ton when you do this. And then when you're ready, you'll exhale and draw your legs in. and hug that knee in. When I first started doing that, I thought that was the most crazy ab workout on the face of the planet. I was like, this shouldn't be this hard. But it is. And so you just pause and you breathe. And then you notice what movement feels good to you and you give yourself permission to do that movement. I think I experience road rage because I'm not giving myself nor others permission to do what they're doing. Everybody can theoretically drive at their own pace as long as we're not too out of alignment with the stated laws. But, we all have our rules. Great. And once you feel complete with whatever little movements you have been doing, you'll come to stillness and you'll plant that left foot on the floor. Then you'll plant the right foot on the floor. From here, walk your feet outside of your hips, let your knees knock in. And you can either plant one hand on heart, one hand on belly, or you can wrap your arms around you to give yourself a hug. This is called constructive rest. And I want you to just take 3 steady, deep breath cycles here. And the ask is to just allow yourself to ground into this present moment, to notice the weight of the feet, the soles of the feet on the floor, to notice the weight of the thighs into the pelvis into the floor, the shoulders, perhaps the arms. Notice the weight of the jaw, the tongue, and the back of the head. And as you check in here and really just take an assessment of where you are, I'd like you to notice if there's anything that's calling to you as a final few shapes that might feel really super duper good to you, that will help you drive at your own speed, that is really the unique speed at which you are intended to be moving at this point for your relationships, for your job, for your general physical, mental, emotional well-being. And once you have an idea of what that may be, you'll go ahead and do that. Roberta, the headset just made a noise. I don't know if they can still hear me. Jenny, can you hear me? Yep, okay, they're good. And as you take this last few shapes or shape, there's nothing to do, there's no rules to follow other than what feels of service to you. What allows your body to feel really supported, what allows your breath to be free. So you've got about another minute or so to explore, to do what you are doing. And I encourage you to really just take that. I was telling my therapist yesterday that I was like, I would like to go to the German Autobahn. I don't drive well enough to do that, but I thought that would be fun to be able to just drive as fast as I wanted to on an open course where there's nobody else that I have to worry about hitting me. And she just was like, okay. And so we're just giving ourselves that permission, our own little Autobahn. You can do whatever you want to, whatever you feel you need to. And then once you feel complete, you will make your way to your final resting pose. And just as always, I encourage you to set yourselves up really well, really well, so it feels like your body can just relax and open. And sometimes it helps to just move things out of the way so they're not touching your physical body. And then just as we've been doing, first few moments, first few breaths are just for you to really adjust yourself so that it feels like you're home, that your right and your left sides of the body are in perfect harmony with one another for however they need to be right now. And then as we settle in, we're going to start our Shavasana with 3 audible breaths out of the mouth. And They can be as loud as you want them to be, more of a sighing sound, or it can just be a breath sound. But when you're ready, you'll take a big exhale out, and then a big inhale in, and two more breaths out. Last one. From there, bring your awareness more internalized. So every subsequent exhalation might be quieter, but it still has that sense of letting go, of exhaling, of expelling the things that you no longer wish to carry forward. And every inhale invites in more of the things that you do wish to carry forward. So maybe it's a greater sense of space. Maybe it's a greater sense of ease, freedom, lightness, joy, connection, harmony. So we're allowing the inhalation to call in that which we aspire to call in, and the exhalation is letting go of the things that are in the way of that, the things that we no longer wish to carry forward. And you'll go ahead and stay with that practice for the next few moments, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently return your awareness. As you come back, just take a moment to check in. there's any part of you that longs to linger here for a few more moments or a few more breaths, by all means, please stay here. When movement, when life is ready to re-enter into your body, you'll allow it to do so in a gentle, gradual way that feels very nurturing and nourishing to you. That movement might gradually become bigger as you stretch or wiggle or yawn the body. And if you're still in stillness, go ahead and stay in stillness. If you're in movement, please start to make your way to your right side and you'll pause there. From there, you'll gently start to draw yourself to a tall and comfortable seat. I encourage you to take the time, the opportunity to elevate your pelvis on a block, on a blanket. And then when you are vertical, maybe gaze still stays soft and inward, but adjust your body in whatever way it feels like it needs to be adjusted for you to feel comfortable, for you to feel stable and at ease. You'll notice that you might need to soften around the face, around the jaw, the shoulders. And then we'll just ground ourselves before we check in with our breath. So notice the weight of the feet, the calves, the legs, the pelvis, the hands, the shoulders, the jaw, the eyes, and the eyelids. And then as those things are rooting down, settling down, noticing the lift. So the lift through the vertebra, through the armpits and the sternum, through the crown of the head. Find a balance between those things, the rootedness, the presence, and then this aspirational lift. And then coming in closer, noticing where you can keep a sense of effort, but then where you can find a softness in this effort. And then notice your breath. And just end our practice by observing your breath. Where is it alive? Where is it active? There's no right, there's no wrong. It's just where is it? Maybe it's in the chest. Maybe you experience it in the ribs. Maybe it's in the abdomen, or maybe it's higher up in the throat or the nose. Once you've made contact with your breath, you'll just notice its speed, the rate at which it comes in, and the rate at which it goes out. Now, the challenge, of course, is remaining a scientist without observing or without disturbing the thing that you're observing. So, how can you just watch the breath without altering it? I genuinely believe that the more we're able to connect into our own natural rhythm and timings, it helps us find our own course in life, helps us chart our path as well as the speed at which is best for us to take that path. So as you take these last 3 breath cycles here, I encourage you to just Notice what you notice. What feels good to you? And can you fall into that a little bit more effortlessly? Trust that a little bit more sincerely, knowing that that will never lead you wrong. Okay, we'll go ahead and draw our hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. Press your palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and lift your heart towards your hands. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. That light, that breath, that driver within me honors and salutes that light, that breath, that driver within each of you. Namaste. Awesome.